Greetings, my fellow stream lovers, sovereign thinkers. This is LLP's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangles of South Florida. And today's date is Wednesday, February 20th, 2019. So let us begin. Oh, hey, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Late Wednesday night. A little cloudy. Nice moon shining out there. Whew. Along the new river of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, within the United States of America, to be exact. Yeah, I did some work, and grabbed some dinner, went on my phone, hit my Twitter account, and I get these tweets, a reference to a good man named David Icke. Found out he was banned in Australia. Getting ready to go in his hotel room in Los Angeles. Actually, he came from Acapulco, went to Los Angeles, and get ready to fly out. And the last minute, it was disallowed. Visa got revoked. We're going to be reading some from the mainstream garbage media on this. And it's really disturbing, too, by some of the rhetoric they want to use. And one of those times, we all know about how big the information war is. Something always got to look at the bigger picture. Actually, a friend of mine, when I was living in the Kendall, Florida area, told me about David Icke, The Biggest Secret. And I was reading his other material before him. And so I just took a little crack at it. And I was real pleased because he never tried to brag about himself. He's always say, do your research as well. He's not trying to be some kingpin of conspiracy theories by any means. Many people laughed at him, ridiculed him. He admitted himself he couldn't even fit people in a London, England phone booth. Now, in due time, people are interested. People are asking questions. Internet really brought the notches up on awareness. What's been happening is just one big spiritual awakening. It's been escalating little by little, not rapidly. I've noticed this for a long time. Interesting too, because even when his book Alice in Wonderland about the World Trade Centers, 9/11. Another good read too. I have to admit, he does digress in his writings and even when he speaks. However, he's trying to get his views across to make you see the bigger picture. I always admired him for that. Many people call him a kook, crazy man. And everyone rigged out over his reptilian narratives. I'll never get offended by him. I never got offended by him in good faith. But question and always try to go further in what they tell you. I know the late Bill Cooper was pretty critical towards him. That's just Bill Cooper. However, even he shares some of his work too in his books, which is good. It's always about the information, never about the person. And it looks like they claimed him to be a Holocaust denier and all that, which is completely deceptive. I can tell you that. Maybe talk about the few folks that are claiming to be like reptilian aliens that were running the Nazis. I remember recall that in this book, The Biggest Secret. and even stating that Adolf Hitler was funded by the Rothschilds. And some people in the so-called Jewish community were very offended by that. The narrow-minded one, the Zionist. I call them Ginos. Jew name only. So I'm going to read some of the articles. What the mainstream garbage media want you to know about David Icke. Mainly from Australia, I would say. And let's just read what has some 9.com Australia has to say. And has to say about this. Controversial conspiracy theorist David Icke banned from Australia. Came out yesterday over there. This is by Matt Dunn. There's a renowned conspiracy theorist, David Icke. He has had his visa revoked ahead of his controversial speaking tour, which was scheduled for Australia in March. The former professional football player, or soccer, and BBC broadcaster is best known for his belief that shape-shifting human-alien hybrids have controlled the Earth since ancient times. Icke lists Queen Elizabeth, George W. Bush, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Bob Hope among some of the modern-day humanoid reptilians ruling the planet. Icke was due to travel to Australia next month, taking his latest speaking tour to Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, Hobart, and Sydney. Tickets range from $55 to $75, Australian dollars, Aussie dollars to be exact. The Australian government was pressured by Jewish groups and the Labour Party to ban Icke over his extreme anti-Semitic views. It really dawns on me when I hear this same song and dance, parroting rhetoric to be exact. And the controversial speaker had previously called for Holocaust denial to be taught in schools. Labour candidate for the federalist seat, McNamara Josh Burns, said last month's far-right and neo-Nazi rallies in St. Kilda were all the evidence needed to know banning Icke was the correct decision. So he's trying to compare him with neo-Nazis. How meek and unmeritable these clowns from down under, McNamara Josh Burns, sounds like to me he's just another bend-over Bob to the New World Order. Another globalist Uncle Tom, to be exact. He applauded Immigration Minister David Coleman for the decision. And I like what he says here. This was a defining moment for who we are as a nation, and we salute the government for taking a clear-eyed moral stance in rejecting hate and incitement, he told 9.com.au. Allowing Icke in our country would have crossed red lines and would have sent the message that is open season on the Jewish community and that vilifying and maligning Australian Jews is okay and normal. Let's protect one particular group. I don't be surprised that many of the people, Jews in Australia, is like saying, what the hell are you talking about? You bloody wank you. You may hear the drawbridge open up. That's okay. There's a bridge behind me. Bear with me here. Icke believes the reptile overlords are masters of manipulation who are currently working toward merging humans with AI by 2030. Cyborgs, right? Yeah, we've just been talking about not just by him, not just him, but only by him. They're trying to put a spin on by saying it will make us superhuman, but the fact is we would become subhuman if we are assimilated by artificial intelligence, he told 9.com.au. As AI becomes more intelligent than humans, less and less of the human consciousness will be used until our minds are basically networkable. Yeah, well, chips in the brains and all that good stuff, right? And of course, the RFID chips. I'll put all your information under your wrist. That's been happening right now at Applied Digital somewhere in Delray, Florida. It's being Boca Raton, but Delray. Yeah, look that up, folks. You'd be surprised. I knew about that like after September 11th. Or before that, before September 11th. Early 2001 to be exact. As AI becomes, I'm here, and of course he has something him on his Facebook. It says here, Facebook tracks ex-employees and considers threats. Report. That's one of David Icke's tweets that happened on February 15th. He believes the wheels have been in motion since the creation of the internet, with modern-day Silicon Valley tech giants used to complete the bidding of the Pentagon and intelligence networks, who are controlled by the networks of secret societies hiding in the shadows. John F. Kennedy talking about secret societies. Look what happened to him, right? The internet has become the central pillar of human society, and this is irreversible, he said. For many years, it was an uncensored source of free-flowing information, but now the military intelligence complex has developed companies to have a dominant monopoly on the internet. I say companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon offer those in the shadows 24/7 surveillance of the population and the ability to control what people see and hear by using algorithms. We all know, too, YouTube is run by Google. He added these factors already influence perception, with things only to be made worse when humans make the inviolable step to combine with AI. Combine the human mind and AI has already started by getting the young addicted to technology, because they will be adults by the time the project is ready, he said. People have already gone from carrying tech to wearing it on their body, with some people as far as microchipping under the skin. Like I said, myidchip.com. Look up Applied Digital, please. Has merit. The end of the goal is to connect humanity to a cloud-like service that will be used to control of everything we see, think, and hear. To extent this already being done with the manipulation of search engines. 66-year-old said the final step is already underway with the war against freedom of speech, ensuring the circulation of information can be controlled to the bidding of those in power. There's a lot of merit on that, too. All you got to do, look what happened to Alex Jones. Barred on Facebook, Twitter, and all these other sites, and YouTube. Like him or not, it's dead wrong. He's just an example, folks. White-wing provocateur and founder of the Proud Boys group, Gavin McInnes, and WikiLeaks whistleblower Chelsea Manning are two other speakers to be recently banned from the country. Yes, Australia, Oceania, welcome to your nation of technocracy. It's just an example of what is happening. Yes, I've been paying attention for a long time. Part of the One World Order's vision, correct? How we think, how we speak, and when to learn to wipe our rear ends. Typical politics as usual. The question is, for those clowns, what are you afraid of? But I'm going to continue on here. You came from the times of Israel. You know, Israel in Hebrew means struggling with God. Originated by AFP and TOI staff. Same Holocaust denier David Icke barred from Australia. Controversial British personality David Icke has been blocked from entering Australia. Opposition parliamentarians said Wednesday after the conspiracy theorist was blasted as a Holocaust denier. Icke, who denies widespread charges of anti-Semitism and believes the world is run by great shape-shifting reptiles, was due to a speaking tour in the major Australian cities next month. Opposition Labour MP Tim Watts on Wednesday warned that Icke could be spouting his vitriol in Melbourne, home of the largest Jewish community, within weeks if he were allowed into the country. David Icke was well-known British Holocaust denier, should not be allowed entry into Australia to preach his toxic message, he told the Parliament. In Icke's 1995 book, And the Truth Shall Set You Free, focus on a global conspiracy about Rothschilds and Rockefellers, containing a chapter questioning aspects of the Holocaust and criticizing for suppressing alternative information to the official line of the Second World War. There's a lot more complex than what remember, folks, the victors write the history books, including World War II. It's always a bigger picture. And of course, so it says here, Watts later wrote on Facebook that the government has listened and banned Icke from the country, describing it as a important blow against rising anti-Semitism in Australia. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation also reported that Icke's visa had been canceled on, quote, charter grounds, unquote. Maybe I'm going to be talking about this in a little bit after I do these other things here. A former soccer player, Icke worked for the BBC as a sport broadcaster before leaving in 1990. Since he's been known as a conspiracy theorist and has been slammed by anti-discrimination groups, he says he holds dangerous views about the world being secretly controlled by an elitist Jewish group and that Jews bankrolled Hitler. Like I said before, look up Hitler or the Rothschild. This was the defining moment for who we are as a nation. We salute the government for taking a clear eye and moral stance and rejecting hate and incitement. The chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission, Denier Abramovic, said in the statement, "What kind of salute? The Caesar salute, sir?" A lot of like in our country would have crossed red lines and would have sent a message as open seas of the Jewish community and the vilified and malignant Australian Jews is okay and normal, Abramovic said. Yes, I could say another man that goes, Israel first, to hell with everybody else. Probably one of those little bellboys for Benjamin Netanyahu. Bing, 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 bing. Yes, BB, what can I do for you? See, nothing more than witch hunting. Another witch hunting fetish on this man. But I'm going to continue on here before I put my 2 cents in. This is from the Algemeener. Australia bans British anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist David Icke from entering country for speaking tour. This is by Benjamin Kirstein. The Australian government on Wednesday refused anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist David Icke a visa to enter the country for speaking out. Actually, it was revoked. So you see what they're trying to do? Trying to twist that around. A best-selling author, Icke has written numerous books changing that the alien race of humanoid reptiles secretly controls the world. In recent years, has openly embraced anti-Semitism, adopting the protocols of the Elders of Zion as a recommended text, charged that Rothschild Zionists were leaders of the reptilian conspiracy. He has blamed Jews for the 9/11 attacks, endorsed Holocaust denial, and called Judaism racist, among other defamatory claims. These people got to start reading a little bit more. I see a lot of hot smoke here. And many people, there's a claim too, with 9/11, the Mossad was behind it. Criminal elements, rogue elements from Israel. Does that make you does that make someone anti-Semitic for criticizing? But in the eyes of the Zionists, it is. Of course, he said the same thing here. I like who says here, Dr. Denier Abramovic, head of Australia's Anti-Defamation Commission, said in January of Icke's planned speaking tour, this man claimed that the Jews funded the Holocaust, who cast a doubt on the extermination of 6 million Jews, who maintains that the world is run by a secret cabal of Jews, and who said that the racist far-right groups are front for the Jews. Like I said before, who's funding who? Who's controlling? But you gotta go after the Jews as a whole? Absolutely not. So he said, I got a question for you, Dr. Abramovic. There's 14.5 other million people that were non-Jews don't count. That's according to Death by Government by R.J. Rummel. It's about 20 About a little under 20.5 million people got slaughtered by the hands of Hitler. But we'll continue on here. He endorses and draws inspiration from the notorious forgery of protocol design, which influenced Hitler and was exploited by the Nazis to degrade Jews, and maintained that a Jewish organization was behind the slave trade. Amber Movick added. A lot of people that were claiming to be Jewish that owned slaves, but like I said, it is like a collective thing. It's funny. I'm like, looking here. Major address to Jewish community. French President Macron pledged new measures to combat rising anti-Semitism. See, right there, this proves this newspaper here are nothing more than frauds, because we all know Macron is a bankster's bellboy. Rothschild owned and branded. According to Sydney Morning Herald, Icke reacted to ban by saying he was shocked and appalled to receiving news earlier today that my visa had been revoked just hours before boarding a flight to Australia. I've been a victim of a smear campaign from politicians who have been listening to special interest groups attempting to discredit my beliefs, my views, and my character by spreading lies, he asserted. This knee-jerk reaction to accommodate the people behind the smear campaign has a less sinister mark on Australians compromising freedom of speech and ideas, I claim. This goes further than just me today, but sets a dangerous precedent for citizens who have differing views and are willing to openly express these. It is a creation of a blatantly Orwellian totalitarian state, he went on to say. Abramovic thanked Immigration Minister David Coleman for heeding our call and declaring a loud voice that anti-Semites and Holocaust deniers will never find a home in Australia. So it's funny, like I say again, about anti-Semitism. One thing I say about anti-Semitism, what's going on in Palestine is exceptional. If I can't criticize rogue elements in the Israeli government that want to torture and take out people that are Palestinians, that's not anti-Semitism. It's exceptionalism, right? Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. A number of Australian politicians who also praised the move with the Labour Party candidate for the federal seat of McNamara, Josh Burns, saying Icke gives it barely a month. And that's it. It's been a lot of stuff that says repeated here about neo-Nazis and all that. But below here, Liberal Party candidate Kate Ashmore noted the ban was welcome and affirms the government's steadfast support for Australia's Jewish community. Owned and branded. Once again, these folks are like really New World Order branded. Can we say about that? Yes, I can. And it's interesting here because David Icke has an area about Kate Ashmore. It says, absolutely thrilled that my months of quiet lobbying to the government has achieved the right result. Thank you, Minister Dave Coleman, MP, and thank you to ADC Australia for its extraordinary leadership. Hashtag AusPo. And it's interesting because it says here about David Icke being banned from Australia, and she is so thrilled. It's so funny because she's a lawyer. Yeah, lawyers, another attorney trying to tell people how to live, right? Because they're the morons. And this is interesting here. We're talking about Ashmore legal. It says here, Kate Ashmore has a decade of broad and diverse experience in legal practice. Passionate about real property and intellectual property, Kate was the principal IP and IT legal advisor to the Public Transport Victoria prior to the establishment of Ashmore Legal. Kate has extensive knowledge of trademarks, copyright, and state government contracting through 5 years of experience in state government agencies, including VicTrack and the Department of Transport. Kate has previously worked as an house advisor to Australia's largest mortgage aggregator, Liberty Financial, and she commenced her career in a private practice and re-owned boutique firm, Poynton Partners. Kate is the chairman of the board of Clawfield Park Bendigo Bank. She served on a number of not-for-profit boards, including Aloha Australia and Project Deborah. In the past, governor of the Victorian Women Lawyers and a past president of Australian Women Lawyers, Kate served as an elector councillor in the city of Glen Eira from 2005 to 2008. Passionate about social media and blogging, Kate is a frequent Twitter and a regular columnist for the popular online magazine Women's Agenda, along with various leading online publications, including Smart Company and Domain. Kate is a proud member of the Law Institute of Victoria, the Australian Institute of Company Directors, Victorian Women's Lawyers, National Council of Jewish Women, and Friends of the Holocaust Center, and the Australian Breastfeeding Association. She holds a Bachelor's of Law and Arts degree from Monash University. How nice. Another one that wants to be a hero, and she's actually a puppet. One of the areas you gotta really look at, my friends. He's considered a threat. He's making waves, and he had the courage to call out people. And that's good. They want like-minded, critical thinkers to shut up, pull them in the corner, and the state wants to tell them, we know better than you how to live. So she thinks it's happy that David Icke is banned in Australia. I got a question for these ungrateful, tyrannical buffoons. Do you have an altar of Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin in your rooms, climaxing to the core? Yeah. Nazi sympathizers, communist pigs. And you have your I love BB buttons as well. He likes to tell everyone what to do. Just another PR guy, in my own, as far as I'm concerned. The people in Australia should go up in arms and call out these ungrateful psychic vampires. Because what they're doing is depriving your opportunity of freedom, to enhance freedom of speech, right to peacefully to assemble, freedom of association, etc. They don't want you to exercise your natural born rights, freedom of choice. They want to dictate to you how to live, who you can see, who you can have sex with. Yep, that's the Australian government for you. They're just an example. They are owned and branded by the banking world order. Rothschilds, the globalists, the cabal, etc. And it's interesting when they talk about freedom of expression, right to freedom of opinion and expression from the Australian government, Attorney General's Department. And like it says here about the material, legal service directions, and I like to say, what's the right to freedom of opinion and expression? The right of freedom of opinion is the right to hold opinions without interference and cannot be subject to any exception or restriction. The right of freedom of expression extends to any medium, including written or oral communications, the media, public protest, broadcasting, artistic works, and commercial advertising. The right is not absolute. It carries it with special responsibilities and may be restricted on several grounds. For example, restrictions could relate to filtering access to certain internet sites, urging violence, or the classification of artistic material. They don't try to blame Icke for that. Now, like it says right here, where does right of freedom of opinion and expression come from? Australia is a party to 7 core international human rights treaties. Because if you read the Constitution, it didn't even talk about this stuff. I looked into it. The right of freedom of opinion and expression is contained in Articles 19 and 20 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, or acronym ICCPR. They have things here about Articles 4 and 5 on the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, or CERD, or CURD, and Articles 12 and 13, the Convention on the Rights of Child, and Article 21, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. So they're trying to use those areas too. You know what? Let's just I'll continue on here. Of course, when do I need to consider the right of freedom of opinion and expression? You need to consider the right of freedom of opinion and expression if you're working on legislation. So you know what? I will continue on here. What's the scope of the right of freedom of opinion and expression? The right in Article 19, subsection 1, to hold opinions without interference cannot be subject to any exception or restriction. The right in Article 19, subsection 2, protects the freedom of expression in any medium. For example, written or oral communications in media, public protest, broadcasting, artistic works, and commercial advertising. The rights protect only favorable information. Protects not only favorable information or ideas, but also unpopular ideas, including that may offend or shock, subject to limitations. Freedom of expression carries its special responsibilities and may be restricted on several grounds. So a little bit of a double speak here. So we'll just go on right down here. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just a little bit windy out here, so bear with me. Hopefully you folks can hear me. So, what it reads over here. What is the scope of the requirements to prohibit advocacy of hatred that constitutes incitement or discrimination? Article 20 of the ICCPR contains mandatory limitations on freedom of expression and requires countries subject to reservation declaration to outlaw vilification of persons on national, racial, or religious grounds. So if you criticize Israel or say banksters were considered Jews a la the Rothschilds, they may consider that national, racial, or religious grounds. Australia has made a declaration in relation to Article 20 to effect that existing Commonwealth and state legislation is regarded as adequate and that the right is reserved not to introduce any further legislation on these matters. Article 4 CURD requires countries to criminalize all dissemination of ideas based on racial superiority or hatred and incitement to racial discrimination, as well as acts of violence or incitement to such acts against any racial ethnic groups. On becoming a party to CURD in 1975, Australia made a reservation in relation to Article 4 that it was not in opposition and not in a position to criminalize all matters covered in the article. The reservation has not been withdrawn. During Australia's Universal Periodic Review in 2011, Australian government committed to establishing a systematic process for the regular review of Australia's reservation to international human rights treaties. Now, it says here, 4B, CURD requires the criminalization of participation in organizations which promote and incite racial discrimination. And it says here, can the right of freedom of expression can be limited? They have one degradation under Article 4, limitation under Article 19, Section 3. They say freedom of expression may be limited as provided for by law and when necessary to protect the rights and reputation of others, national security, public order, public health, or morals. Limitations must be prescribed by legislation necessary to achieve the desired purpose and proportionate to the need on which limitation is predicated. So it looks like a national security issue, right? Or morals in their eyes. Rights and reputation of others, in case which involve a complaint about law prohibiting denial of the Holocaust. The UN Human Rights Committee stated the restriction of the complainant's freedom of expression was permissible as it was necessary for the respect for human rights and reputations of others. So So that's what they're going under a global law here, okay? That's all it is. It's a global law. And public morals. That can go on here. It's just totally very ridiculous indeed. So I'm definitely going to, not a double speak here on this, but I'll keep this whole thing as a whole. Really seditious, I would say. So if you can't, it's like if it offends people, they can say, "Oh, we have those limitations on certain grounds." Well, people better study their history before jumping on some pretentious bandwagon. A lot of folks, I can tell you this whole anti-Semitism race card is being totally watered down. Toilet paper is a bit more effective than all this bogus rhetoric. Dumb down the cost of the masses. Political correctness gone wild. Australia is just an example of what is happening to our world. And it's just a real shame when you have individuals out there have the courage to speak their minds and do their research and back up with certain sources. A lot of folks don't want to accept it. They just want to go, it's obscene, I'm offended, don't put this person in here. Censorship is alive and well in Australia too. Just an example, folks, of what is going on. And this is why I get a little bit ticked off. And I'm not surprised. David Icke talked about this 30 years ago. I chat with this from my friends of mine for at least good 10, 12 years. 12, 13 years, I would say, to be frank, on what can happen. So we're not idiots. These sons of bitches are desperate. And they know one thing. What's going to happen, David Icke is going to be a lot bigger in Australia than before. You got a small amount of people going to try to tell the rest of the country is not suitable for you? Shoot. It's all going to backfire on them. Mark my words, friends. Like him or not, he has an interesting message questioning things. They don't want more critical thinkers. They want her conformity. Like to see the world dumb, stagnant, and happy. When they say, bend over, they want us to go, how far, please? With us grinning to the core. Well, these folks here are nothing more than your enemies, and they don't give a damn about it. They think of you as numbers, garbage, feces, and I digress. Here's a little statement here what Mr. Icke has to say from his website, davidicke.com. Statement from David Icke regarding last-minute Australian visa cancellation tonight. Statement from David Icke after being banned from Australia today. I was shocked and appalled to receive the news earlier today that my visa has been revoked just hours before boarding a flight to Australia by Immigration Minister David Coleman. I've been a victim of a smear campaign from politicians who have been listening to special interest groups attempting to discredit my beliefs, my views, and my character by spreading lies. I would like to clarify the following in no uncertain terms. I am not anti-Semitic. I am not a Holocaust denier. I don't wish to have Holocaust denial be taught in schools. With no shred of evidence, these ploys have worked. My previously approved visa accepted last September has been vetted by the highest levels of government in Australia, but has now been thrown out at the last hour. This is due to pressure not only from these groups, but also from an article in the Australian Today stating libelous claims I was never given a right to reply to, despite requesting the chance to speak before the article was published. Minister Coleman has also included my views on vaccinations and global warming as reason for my visa to be revoked. Mr. Coleman is one weak and pathetic stooge. This knee-jerk reaction to accommodate the people behind this smear campaign has left a sinister mark on Australians, compromising freedom of speech and ideas. Goes further than just me today, but set a dangerous precedent for citizens who have differing views and are willing to openly express these. Does this mean that from this point forward, Australian government has given a license to ban any media outlet, politician, citizen, or public figure from entering this country based on their beliefs? This is the creation of the blatantly Orwellian totalitarian state and says the government believes they have the right to dictate what the nation can and cannot choose to hear. I'm not forcing anybody to listen to my views, nor am I forcing anybody to believe them. I am simply stating my well-researched beliefs and giving the Australian public an open forum to consider another viewpoint. I urge Mr. Coleman to reconsider the decision and base this judgment on facts. I've been to Australia 10 times since 1997 for speaking engagements, and there has never been a single problem of incident. Minister Coleman confirmed this is his judgment. The purpose of my tour is to discuss my latest research. I was not even going to mention the Jewish community, as I did on my last tour. My visit to Australia is not a risk to health, safety, or good order of the Australian community, or a segment of the Australian community, as the government has stated when revoking my visas. That is ludicrous. I have been 10 times, for goodness sake, with no problem. You, the Australian public, deserve to choose what you see and hear. Electing to deny my entry into the country only confirms to the general public that my contentions is truly correct. The freedom is in the process of being demolished in Australia. Once again, it won't be coming back. There's a petition here to the folks to have David Icke be in Australia, and I have signed it because it is the right thing to do. This is, like I said, my friends, this is the example on the war on terror. It's the conflict with ourselves. Critical thinkers are considered seditious. And in reality, that's a monumental lie. How far can this go? I don't know for sure. But I can tell you one thing. A lot bigger than what it is. What happened to David Icke can go further. This is why I boldly condemn the actions of these lobbyist hacks, these Uncle Toms and Angel Mamas to the global elites. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves, because truth proves one thing: you're nothing more than political tyrants, Orwellian snowflakes. Bunch of cowards who are afraid to see your own shadows. Deep down inside, you know I'm right. But I know one thing for sure. Once again, you just made David Icke a bigger household name. Congratulations to yourself for your stupidity. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening, plus feel free to download the show through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you see something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondences with decorum. I will leave all my social media sites and email contacts on my Spreaker page, okay? Once again, thank you for your time, plus always remember that the maniacal resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.